Hello everyone, Joel here, Devon Dice, about to bring you a review or a preview of an upcoming game from Lucky Duck Games. That is a deck builder. No, that's already out. It has mutants in it. No, not those mutants. And gladiators. Of course, not him. So what game are they bringing out in Kickstarter? This game, called Mutants, the card game. Mutants, the card game, is designed by Fen Lim and Jesse Wright. It is done by Lucky Duck Games in association with Celsius Online. It also has a play time of 45 to 60 minutes, 2 to 4 players, and it is really aged 12 and upwards. Here's a general layout how mutants will be set up. So a player will get their own player board. They will also get a deck of 12 starting cards. They are one each of different factions that can be found. So you've got the warriors, the beasts, aliens, zombies, robots, and demons. So you get 2 cards of each. Each player has the same starting cards. You would take those decks, you would shuffle it. You also get your own colour marker and a scoring marker, and there's a round marker that goes on there. Then each player can pick one of the 4 starting gene pools to draft from. So here we have Breed to Beat Down. Here lists all the cards you get, and it also helps you with the icons of what genes are in those mutants. So you have these cards, and what you will do, you take away that card, you shuffle these. 3 face down piles in front of your board. Then turn over the top card. Just before the game begins, each player draw up 6 cards into their hand from their deck, and they can look at those. You're almost ready to begin. So you will pick a start player. Whoever that start player is will start from the back of this track here. And before you do anything on any actions, you have to move your active mutant, that would be here, left or right. If there's an empty space, it has to go to that empty space. If not, then you have to move one of your mutants out, and then it takes over the space. But the first turns doesn't really matter because there is no mutants there. So the first turn could be I'm playing one of those cards down on the active mutant space. Now whenever you play a card down, you get the Enter the Arena action. In this case, I would just get a +1, and I move my counter up the track, and then turns will go round. The next player will take his turn, and it come back round to me. In which case, when it comes back round to me, I have to move this left or right. So I move it right. That makes no difference. Then I can play another card. Then I could play this card. This card here, this ability here allows me to draw a card up from my deck, and then I can discard one down into my discard pile, which is down there. Then I can discard one down in my discard pile. That's what that means. So play continues round. It comes back round to me. I decide to move that mutant to the right hand side of the board. Now on my turn, I can do a different action. I can breed a mutant. By breeding, I discard 2 cards from my hand, and with those 2 cards, I can then breed a mutant that match the symbols I discarded, like this one. Triple B matches the 2 symbols I discarded. He goes into the active mutant spot. His entering ability activates as well. So now he's entered the arena, I can freeze a card from my discard pile. So here's my discard pile. I can take any of these and freeze it. I might just take the alien. If you have brought in a card, you have to flip over the top card, ready. When you freeze, it goes into this side of the board, face down. And these cards actually will become scoring cards at the end of the game. You score these points in the top right-hand corner. So the starting cards only have 1 point, where other cards that you have brought in from your gene pool will score you more points. When your turn comes back round to you again, you are going to remember a card needs to come out either the left or the right hand side. Now, I could do this one, which if it comes out would actually give me a +1 to my combat track at the top here, up here. Or I could do this one, which has a special ability, the attacking ability. You see where the sword is attacking. So players that are dominating you knock down a mutant in the same spot. So if this chap comes out of the arena here, all players that are dominating me, I mean we're in a 2-player game, so red is dominating me, he would knock down his mutants in the left-hand spot of his board. So because red is dominating me, and then I've played this attack card on him, players dominating you knock down a mutant in the same spot, red has to then flip down the left mutant face down. What does that do? Well, basically now when this card or this mutant leaves the arena, the bottom ability does not activate. So it becomes pretty useless. There is ways of unflipping cards, but that doesn't come out until more advanced games. When he's done that, it goes into my reserve pile. This moves over to take over its spot. As a next action, I can, with my cards in hand, discard a card. I'm going to discard this card into the discard pile. Now I've discarded one single card. This now allows me to take a card from the top of one of these piles. So I'm going to take Big Boss. Look at what he does. And he actually goes into the incubator spot on the board here. And that will stay there for the rest of the round. And now you can see, because I've done that, there is no mutant in my active spot, and that's how it stays until I play another card. A round will end when all players have no cards left in hand. So at some point, there will be some players who will have no cards in hand and some that will still have cards in hand. Those players will continue to play all their cards until everyone is empty out of cards. When it happens, the round will end and we go on to scoring track. Now, I'd just like to say, these numbers, as I said, if you get these, then you will move your score marker up the track. Now, if you have reached the top of the track and you still have excess points to gain, you will then push all the other players down that number of excess points left over. If, by any chance, all your opponents are in this red area of the board and you are on the top spot of the board, you will have actually dominated them. But this only happens at the beginning of your turn. So at the beginning of your turn, always check to see if you are on the top spot and everyone else is in the red. If this happens, the round instantly is over and you go to scoring. In the standard scoring, at the end of the round, the player who is at top of the track will score the red points indicated here. If there's more players, 3 or 4 players, second place and third place would score the black number, 2 points. Last place scores 0 points. So in this case, red will score 4 points. Blue scores nothing. If the round ends and it was dominated by the one player being in the top spot here and all the other players being in the red zone, the dominating player actually scores the black mark as well. So in this case, red will score 6. for dominating and putting on a good show. That's the scoring round. You advance the marker along one spot. All players that have mutants in the incubator, put them on top of the deck. They will then draw back up to 6 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is good for me. But if I had less than 6, say I had only 4, I will draw up those 4. I will take my discard pile here, and I would actually, before doing anything, pick one card to freeze. So I'm going to pick this robot to freeze. And again, it goes in your freeze pile. The other cards I shuffle, like so, and I put back on my deck, and I draw up enough to refill my hand to 6. Also, when you start a new round, you have to determine player order. So in this case, blue has the lowest points, red is the next player, and red will now be the new starting player for the next round. So the game ends after 5 rounds. Once the last card or everyone's been dominated, the game ends and we go into the standard scoring. So in this case, red scores 8 points. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just about winning. Once final scoring on the board is done, then we go into the scoring of your frozen mutants in the freeze zone. So everything in the top right hand corner scores you. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we get to other scoring, and these are higher, so you get another 9 points here. This card here actually gives you a variable scoring. It basically scores you for every card that has this symbol in your freeze pile, scores you that many victory points. So in this case, I score an extra 4 points from this card. You add those points to your score track. Whoever has the most points wins. So for the starting cards, basic robot, when they enter, you get to draw a card and then discard a card. And when it leaves, you get a +1. Here is the fence card. Basically, if this card is attacked, then the player benefits from this ability. So +1, and then knock down this mutant. So it benefits from getting attacked. So you need to look out for those when you are attacking people. It's not always worth it. +2 when this zombie enters the arena. But then when it leaves, you may freeze it. +1 for him when he enters. But players dominating you get knocked down on the same spot. This card I like, Beast. You may discard any 2 cards and gain a mutant to your hand. So it's a bit like breeding. But you can discard any 2 cards to bring a card into your hand. And then it gets +2 for leaving. Alien is just a +1 for entering. But when it leaves, you can copy the deploy ability of any of your other mutants. So basically, he copies the top part of any cards still in the arena. So some other cards. So there's cards that have ongoing effects, like this one. Basically, each time you breed, you gain or breed a mutant, you get a +2. So long as he's sat in your arena, not really doing much, every time you do get these keywords come up or use breed, then you'll get this ability. You know Triple D, but you also notice when he leaves, he actually gives you -2 on your arena status. So that goes up and down. So you've got to watch out for those. Here is a transforming card. So basically, it's kind of a arriving ability. So when it comes into arena, you do this, and it says this mutant leaves. So it leaves. Then deploy the top card of your deck. So it leaves, it gets the leave ability on the bottom and then goes into your discard pile straight away. So it gives you -1 and gain a mutant from to the bottom of your deck. Here's +3 for entering. You may take up to 2 cards from your discard pile and put them on top of your deck. Here's another attacking one, so when it comes in, it attacks. Knock down each opponent in the same spot. So basically, everyone's active mutants have now been attacked and been knocked down. This also gets a +1 for leaving, and then you may draw and discard a card into your hand and out of your hand. Here's the defense one, gets +2 and then knock this mutant down. Attacking card, so when it enters, all the players dominating you get -2. If you're dominating the play, you may freeze a card from your discard pile. This one here, ongoing effect, so long as it's in your arena. After you deploy a mutant, you may have it leave immediately, which is pretty strong. So here's one. There's only got one ability on it. So while it's in your arena, each time you freeze a mutant, you get +2. As long as it hangs around in your arena, it's always going to give you +2. This one's pretty strong. -1 for coming in, but when it gets out, +4. Put any mutant from your gene pool into your incubator. And there we go, a brief, or not so brief, description of how to play Mutants, the card game from Lucky Duck Games. It, as always with Lucky Duck Games, they bring out board games based on apps, game apps for smart devices. And this is based on Mutants, Genetic Gladiators. And I played it, I downloaded it, I had a play, and I prefer the card game to the app game. Let's say that. I can see the designers where they got their idea for the game and how they interpret the game into a card game. The app is basically a time-based attacking game. So 3 people line up. On if it's your character's turn, that you press a button, they attack the opponent and do a certain amount of damage, and the opponent does the same thing, and to and from until your characters are dead. It's that sort of game. Turn-based combat. I can't remember now. I used to play them a lot when on video games, but the game wasn't all that great. I can see other symbols like you were genetically infusing together genes of 2 monsters to make another big monster and all that, and same thing happens here. So I can see the resemblances in it. But as I said, I actually would prefer to play the card game than the app game than this. This is a deck builder. It's got this unique common pool of mutants, which is not unique. I mean, this has been done before. Super Motherload, one of my other favourite deck building card games, has that in it, where you have your own pilots and you buy your pilots from your own pool of pilots. So, and this is very similar, except for in Super Motherload, you know the pilot decks, you know that the cheapest one's going to be on top, and as you go down they get better and better, and more points will be awarded for if you actually brought them in. In this, you have 12 different mutants that all shuffled up. They're randomly in 3 piles. You don't know where they are. You might have an idea of what mutant you're looking for, but that could be anywhere in those decks, which is kind of the same as genetics. And this is similar. I mean, it could be on the top one, it could be an instant one you want straight away, that's fine. But if there's one particular one, it could be in any 3 of these top piles, and it could be right at the bottom. So you could be trying to hunt for that specific mutant you want for a while, which is quite thematic in a way. The deck building, well, the playing of the game is actually quite simple. It's another good thing about it. It is very simple. The icons are very clear, they're very precise, very big as well, so there's no mistake in what they do. You can actually probably see from a distance of what they will do. So the icons are really good, very effective. There's a bit of text on some of it, and some of it's a bit like, oh, what does that really mean, kind of thing. But I think that maybe even be cleared out once it actually goes to Kickstarter. Like I say, this is all prototype version, so these components, art, and everything else could change by the time it comes to the final box that comes off a Kickstarter production line. But I mean, most of it looks almost ready. I would say there's a couple of things that could be helpful, that could do, like this combat board. Combat board here could do with a few more details on here, particularly a good start where the actual start space is. And then it could also help with like quick way of how to score, and then who's start player for next rounds and things like that. So that could be handy. Maybe that will be put on there later on. The player mats have got most of the information on there as you need. Some of it might need to be a little bit more clearer, like discarding. It actually does say when you need to pull back your discard piles, you can freeze a mutant from your discard pile. And actually some people I played with actually missed that the first couple of times and possibly lost out on some, well, they did lose out on some points. But it's just little things, it's fine. Your starting hand actually feels quite strong, but then the new mutants you get in actually come in more stronger, and they feel like it is worth it. There are some mutants, like, you need to freeze mutants because they will score you more points. You might want to freeze the cheap starter cards. They're only 1 point each. You might just want to get them out of your hand, which is fair enough. But you might need to look at freezing these, and this is the crux. It's that difficulty between a rock and a hard place. Because if you don't freeze high-end mutants, you're not going to score extra points. But they've usually got good abilities, and you might just want to say, actually, I want to keep hold of that in my deck for it to come round again. And then you're kind of playing that off. Will I have enough chance to bring it back round again, to go in my discard, or a way of possibly freezing it via another ability? So it's that real tear of like, what do I do? Do I freeze this now, or do I keep hold of it and just take the risk? Some of the mutants you just say, fine, I'll just freeze that. I'm not really bothered about that coming back around again. But there's some really nice ones in there, and some that are really bouncing off other mutants that you might feel, I need to keep this in. So that's that kind of war of two sides going on in your mind of like, do I do this? Do I do that? It's loads of points, but it's really good. Or just bin it straight away, it's fine. It's a good way of trashing cards out of your deck. But there's only 5 rounds in it, so you've got to be wary of like the game shortening. Has caught people out before. The starting decks, I'm not talking about the starting decks, but there's 4 starting decks that will come with the core box. They're already set up for playing out the box. They're good. There's nothing wrong with them. Maybe there's 1 or 2 might seem a bit stronger than the other, but I don't know if that's just how you got to play against them or what they do. There is straight out of the box play, and that's quite cool. And it's all indicated as well. There is, however, another way of playing it, a drafting system where half the cards has a M symbol at the bottom. You take all those cards, you shuffle them up, you deal each player 9 cards. They look at those 9 cards, they pick one, they pass it to the left, collect the ones from the left, pick again until they have 6 cards, and then once they have 6 cards, they get rid of the rest of the cards, and then they have to go through the other deck that didn't have the M on it and find the partners to go with the cards that they've just picked. They have 6 cards of 2 identical cards, so making 12 cards. That's their gene pool, and then they do it again. They build their gene pool by shuffling and dealing out 3 cards and turning over the top one. So that's another way of doing it. It allows people that have now played this game a few times, they want to customize their own deck and see what strategies and synergies they can come out with these cards, which is quite cool. And not a way I've played it yet. The plays I've played it are with new people, so you just kind of go with the starting decks and it works. The starting decks are fine. The only thing I say, I played it with 4 players, it's good. I played it with 2 players, it's a little bit of a different kettle of fish because it's more of a tug of war with it, because one person's going to get to the top, he's going to start pushing the other person back down to the red zone, so that other person's then constantly trying to keep up and stay out of the red zone so that the opponent doesn't dominate them and score extra points or end the round early. So there's that kind of tug of war going on with the 2 sides, and it's good. I kind of liked it. It is infuriating when you're struggling to get cards to help you go up the track and your opponent's actually got quite good cards and they're playing them out and constantly pushing you back down again. So you've got to be aware of that happening and adjust for it. and I think it is possible. Also, if you do get dominated, then you've got to really set yourself up for the next round to try and get and dominate back to try and gain those points back, or keep sending mutants into the freeze point to hopefully score enough points at the end of the game. 4 players, 3 or 4 players, kind of different story. Again, you're going to have someone go to the top, maybe push everyone down, but then it maybe the people at the bottom become a bit of a team and say, look guys, if someone doesn't get out of the red zone, that guy's going to dominate, and we're going to lose lots of points against him. So then you've got to work out: can you stick your head above water? Can you stop this from not ending the round too quickly? Working together a bit like that, and then maybe someone can actually come back from the depths and take over the top again. I have seen that happen, which is quite cool. So there's that bit of one versus many going on when someone is really doing really well. So that's quite cool. Kind of really what happens in the gladiator arena as well. So yeah, it is fun with 3 or 4 players. It's different with 2 players. If you like a 2-player game, this might work. It might not. I'm not really sure. I like it. I really do. Can I actually say I like this? And at 4 players it's fun, 3 it's fun, 2 different story. But for the graphic work, it's a bit gruesome in some places. It's cartoonish. It's a bit dark in some areas, fun in others. Wonder if that will be tightened up once the final art comes in. But I have actually enjoyed playing this and teaching people this. So it is a good game. It's not unique and it's not a game changer, but it is a good game. And if you like deck building, you like kind of bit of PvV or a bit of light-hearted combat. I mean, it's nothing gruesome. It's not even attacking the players directly. It's either getting to the top and pushing everyone back down, king of the hill kind of style, or you're attacking their mutants, which can be infuriating, but that's just the game, and you try and set yourself up in the future to hopefully stop that from happening. But yeah, good game. Can't wait for this to come out on Kickstarter and see what extras they bring out for it. I've been Joel Wright. This has been another review video from Devon Dice based on Mutants, the card game from Lucky Duck Games. Like and subscribe to the channel and check out our blogging page where we have lots of other board game related stuff happening there. Thank you. Good night.